How's it going, guys? I've actually added quite a bit to this. I know I've already did a video on this. This right here, the motor coach, when I actually had that mixed up with the one right below it, the Adams versus Pocatello, I actually had them mixed up. I had to recheck it, so it's straight now. I'm not going to read all this, but I'm going to leave the link to the document below. If you guys want to read it, you can. But it's basically pointing out that the fraud in the DOT and in government, saying that driving in commerce is a privilege and not a right. That's a lie. That is a lie, and this document proves it. So we go right here, the Chicago Motor Coach. Now, if you look right down below it, it says, the use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and the individual cannot be rightfully deprived. Okay, let's look at the word motor coach. I actually got the definition way down here. We're going to be doing a bunch of back and forth here. Right here, motor coach. We're right here. Okay, motor coach is a bus used to carry people and is a motor vehicle used in commerce. Now, if we look at the endorsement here, these are clickable links. Let's see right here. Let me scroll back up here a little bit. Question: is a person who operates a custom motor coach in commerce with a GVWR or a GVW, which is like gross vehicle weight, greater than 26,100 or 26,001 pounds, required to have a passenger endorsement for his or her CDL in the if the vehicle is designed or used to transport fewer than 16 passengers, including the driver. They replied, yes, the motor coach is a heavy straight vehicle, Group B, which means you have to have a Class B CDL, under Regulations 383.91, that is designed to transport passengers in commerce. Really. So, according to this case law, way back up here, we have a right to travel in commerce. Okay? Now let's look at right here. We're going to look at this one. You see the word commerce right there? Right above it. It says, right below it, it says, the state does not have the power to convert the lawful right to travel freely upon the highways into a paid legal privilege. But they have. That's fraud. Right below it. The right of the citizens to drive on public streets with freedom. It is a fundamental constitutional right. Now, if you want to, the courts have been trying to say that when you drive, you're in commerce, but when you travel, you're in conveyance. That's how they try to put it. But it says right here that when you drive, it's a constitutional right. It's a fundamental constitutional right that cannot be interfered. Right? And look right here at this one. Drivers. We're going to get to the definition of that here in a minute. But you see right here, drivers too. Right? And then you got right here, which is in the another case law. It says driver. Then up here, it says commerce. Okay? Look at this one. I like this. I had to throw this in there. The people never give up their liberties, but under some delusion. This is a delusion, because they're saying that when you drive, you're in commerce, but when you travel, you're in conveyance. A driver is a traveler. It's the same thing. Let's look at this one right here in the blue. The people are legally contracted through registration and licensings become subject to the policing powers of the incorporated government operating in commerce. But in the common law jurisdiction, the nation and supreme law of the land, such contracts are only valid when they are entered into knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily. That means we're volunteering to ask the government for us to practice our right to travel when we acquire a driver's license. That's fraud. Because the government's telling you that you can't drive without a driver's license, but it's our right to drive. So who are they to tell us what we can and can't do within our right? That's oppressive authority, especially when a state comes along and dictates that, because now they're using oppressive authority, which is against the 14th Amendment. And if the federal gets into it saying that you have to have a CDL to drive, though it's a common right, a fundamental right, to drive in commerce, to travel in commerce without hindrance, without restriction, without regulations, without limitation. But they won't let you do it unless you obey them. Since when do we have to obey the government when it comes to our rights to be able to do these things? Who is the government to overstep the people? They are our employees. So let's look right here. Moreover, the common law right to travel freely and unpaid on the public highways without a vehicle registration or driver's license contract in the ordinary course of life and business is an unalienable, I think that's how you say that, right that cannot be revoked by the state, nor can the state convert that right into a privilege granted for a fee, which they have. The state cannot diminish constitution or cannot diminish rights of the people, but they have, because they're forcing us to get license, and if we don't get a license and we get pulled over without a license, they want to take us to jail. Why? That's oppressive authority. That's tyranny. Deprivation of rights. Now let's look down here. This right here is the Privilege and Immunity Clause. Well, it's part of it. But you see right here in the blue it says, which I'm going to go back a little bit more, where it says, the people of each state shall free ingress and regress to and from any other state, and shall enjoy therein all the privileges and trade of and commerce. Now, this does not mean that, okay, these people over here get the right to ingress and regress, while these people over here get a right to the privilege of trading in commerce. That's not what it means. That is not a separation between ingress and regress from trade and commerce. It's not a separation. This is saying that you have a right in commerce and trade to ingress and regress freely. As you see right here, punctuation meaning of comma. And what I mean by comma is this one right here, in between state and. Okay? A comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause in a sentence. One sentence. A sentence is not going to talk about two different things. Right? It's not going to say, Johnny threw the ball, and then all of a sudden it just picks up to the car crashed into a tree. It's like it don't make sense. Okay, what happened in between it, right? There's going to be another sentence describing it. Or it separates items in a list. This is not an item in the list. This is not a list. A list is something like, okay, I'm going to the grocery store. I need to get cake, comma, rice, comma, drinks, comma. That's a list. Now let's move further on down, see what it says. I've lost my place. Okay, a comma is also used before the words and or but to join two independent clauses. So what they're doing is they're joining ingress and egress with trade and commerce. It's joined. That means it's one. You're allowed that right in commerce. It's not a privilege. Commerce is a privilege. To work commerce is a privilege. That's why you need a business license. But to drive or travel while working in commerce, it's a right. But they have stripped it from us because the idiots don't know punctuation. They don't know. Or either that or they do know and they just want to dictate to have control over the people. Sorry, it don't work that way. Now look right here. Employee means driver. Right there. Now this is commercial motor vehicle. Like this is a statute. Now let's move on down here. I told you we was going to look at driver. So look, it's driving. All these right here need to be rewritten. Now I'm not, but some of these are about the logbooks. Actually, all these right here are about logs. But the thing is, we're going to do this first real quick, and then we'll get down here to driver. About the logbooks, regulations can still apply for logging travel time by ELD or logbooks and etc. But as for the right to travel, under constitutional law and case law, it cannot be hindered, restricted, regulated, limited, or denied by any state or federal laws or regulation. Though commerce is a privilege, state and federal government cannot force CDLs on individuals or persons of public and private. However, United States government can create a license to work in commerce, which they already have. United States government cannot force a driver's license, CDL, to operate a CMV, motor vehicle, automobile in commerce. No such license exists because it's invalid, but we do it anyway. The United States cannot enforce a drug test upon U.S. citizens for the right to drive or travel in a CMV, motor vehicle, automobile, due to hindrance of the inalienable, I have a problem with that word, right, which cannot be deprived or interfered by the United States government. Traveling is a right, not a privilege, rather in conveyance or commerce. Now here's the definition of driver. One employed. Now if you see right here, coach, which we talked about, right? And right here, driver. Like I said, these are clickable links. Hang on a second. I'm going to pause you until I get internet back. I'm not going to read all this. Hang on a second. See, I was going to put some of this in there, but it's just so long. I just went ahead and put the code in there so you guys can look at it. I'm just going to read just the first little bit of this. An individual who drives a motor vehicle in transportation which is within the meaning of the Motor Carrier Act in interstate or foreign commerce. That's a driver. But case law says we have a right to travel and drive. So where was that? Right here. Right there. So look, it even says our driver right there. Right here. Right below it. I mean, I don't get it. And it even says it right here. And it's talking about commerce. I just don't get it. What the hell is our government doing? and where's that? There's one here somewhere. Hang on a second. I'm gonna try to find this one. This one right here. Look, controlled substance restricts the right to operate a motor vehicle. Operating a motor vehicle is driving, traveling, which is a right. It's not a privilege, it's a right. Commerce or not, it's a right. As stated in the FMCSA website, it says, you guys can click on that link because that's a clickable link too. Pre-employment. An employer must receive a negative drug test result before permitting a CDL driver to operate a CMV. This is invalid, therefore unenforceable due to the deprivation of right to travel. Even an employer cannot enforce this without violating an individual's right to travel. And an employer cannot violate people's rights. That's why the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission was created, the EEOC. They are there to help the citizens and to prevent employers from violating people's rights. So they put out this, right below it, so they put this out, which is a regulation stating violation against the right to travel. If we don't bow down and kiss the government's ass, we don't get to exercise our rights. That's not how it works, and I'm not going to have it work like that. I'm tired of this.